All right.
Well, we're gonna wait for
Test?
Justin. We're gonna wait for Justin to talk to it.
We're waiting for Justin. Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait for Justin. This is Justin. It is his number 3 favorite movie of all time. Dances with Wolves, and because it is one of his top 4 or top 5 favorite movies, he's going to introduce this and introduce us and get us rolling. So we're just
riding our horse across the plains.
Yeah, I think this podcast should be, this episode should be as patient as this movie we just watched. The thing is, like, when I thought about this movie, when I saw that it was coming up, it's like, dude, I am really not interested. But I will. I'll say I didn't have a terrible time with this movie. I really I enjoy it. It's cinematically, it is a gorgeous movie. Mm-hmm. And when you think about this being someone's first film that they directed, and really they directed it because they could not trust anyone else to direct this movie. Kevin Costner making like a directorial debut in this gorgeous scope of a movie. I don't know if it had to be 3 hours and 1 minute. But I guess we'll get into it soon. So listen, guys, if you're watching this, we're the Real Boys. What we do is we are a collective of sometimes more than 3 guys, and we all have favorite movies. yeah. Actually, recently not. Recently we tried, but that was kind of the idea. It was like we have 8. And then on each show, we roughly have like 4. The problem is that we came out hot and heavy early, and we have like 7 to 8 dudes every time. But now we're kind of getting down to what we're actually trying to do. Anyway, so what we do is we have our top 5 favorite movies, and then collectively, because we're all friends, probably, we shared what these movies are, and then we're asking our friends and our fellow podcasters to review these and see if actually we know what we're talking about. I am Zach Wiseman. You can see me most things on Some Nobodies. Usually I'm talking things that Dylan writes, or just randomly shouting about how I don't like things, which is very similar to Michael Colby. Michael Colby. He also likes to yell at things. You want to just quickly shout out where people can hear you yelling?
Me specifically?
Well, yeah, I think you're the only Michael Colby here. There's 3 of us.
I can try.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
That's sad. That's
classic.
Sad.
No,
anyway, Dylan, go ahead and tell people where they can find you, Dylan.
I'm Dylan. I'm part of Some Nobodies. I write words that Zach says sometimes, and sometimes I say words too.
That's true. He'll definitely say some words.
I'll say some stuff.
And then roughly 3 hours from now, we'll get into where you can hear Michael Colby's stuff. But because
I was taking this podcast like I was watching this movie and like doing other stuff while I was barely paying attention to it.
What is the other stuff you're doing that you cannot talk about? Dances with Wolves.
Don't even worry about it.
Well, I am worried about it because you're taking up my time now, and also Dylan's time.
I'm learning some magic. Don't even worry about it.
The Gathering, or like
no. I already know how to play Magic: The Gathering. I'm talking about real ass magic.
You'd think at some point I'd have my cards on hand for when you bring it up, but I never do.
Yeah, I like any adults that are trying to learn magic, because it's like I want to be friends with kids all of a sudden. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Justin Wallace's number 3 favorite film, which is Dances with Wolves. And if you don't know what this film is about, directed by Kevin Costner, written by Michael Blake, stars Kevin Costner, Mary McDonald, and Graham Greene. It is about Lieutenant John Dunbar, who is Kevin Costner. He's dubbed a hero after he accidentally leads Union troops to a victory during the Civil War. He requests a position in the Western frontier, but finds it pretty deserted. He soon finds out that he's not alone, but meets a wolf he dubs Two Socks, which makes no sense because it has 4 white feet, and a curious Indian tribe. Dunbar quickly makes friends with the tribe, and he discovers a white woman who was raised by the Indians. He gradually earns the respect of these native people. Sorry, this is from
you're
Wikipedia.
Reading word for word.
Yeah, I'm reading verbatim from Wikipedia. That was a mistake of mine. I realized that once I said it. Native Americans. He gradually earns the respect of these native peoples and sheds the white man's ways. You
answered one of my questions. Was was the love interest supposed to be a white lady, or was she supposed to be Native American? Because
Yeah, when I remembered it, I remembered it as a miscasting. Rewatching it, yeah, she is a white woman that somehow I don't really know how she falls in with this tribe, but she is a mess, really.
Her family gets killed, and then she gets adopted into their tribe.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
when she was a baby.
Young.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, young. Yeah, she speaks pretty decent, from what I can understand, Lakotan. But I don't think that's accurate, because no one actually speaks very good Lakota here. But Dylan, what Dance with Wolves? What do you know about this movie before rewatching it for this? If you did, which is fine.
I had never seen this. I knew that it was a Western epic, and I knew that it was a very well-known ripoff of James Cameron's Avatar. So, points for Jimmy C. No, I knew it's well regarded. It won a whole bunch of awards. It cost a whole bunch of money, and it takes forever to watch. I enjoyed it. Kevin Costner's not great. His narration is really kind of like, I'm Kevin Costner, and I'm reading off a cue. I'm reading something that I wrote down. I'm like, all right, man, just put some work into it.
Yeah, it is pretty odd how bad he acts. Like, he does not emote anything whatsoever. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of like period films. I'm a big fan of Westerns, and I like historical epics. This movie's not, I wasn't blown away by it, but I'm watching this. I'm like, this looks good. It's written fine. I'm having an okay time. I watched it at 1.25 speed on Netflix, so I watched it in just like, shorter time than normal. I think 2.5 hours instead of 3, so it's not that much, but yeah.
So I wish I could erase my memory and watch Dancing with Wolves for the first time. I don't know if I can agree with that.
No, I also think that the rewatch was better than the first time, because I did see this not long after it came out. It was definitely a 2 VHS tape situation. I absolutely hated it. This time, like Dylan said, it's beautiful. Like, the shots in this movie are like, they're framed perfectly. I wish that there wouldn't have always been like some horses or something very small in the middle of the shot just moving around. It like drew my attention away from what I wanted to be looking at, which was like the canyons and the mountains and the plains, like beautiful scenery. But if you would have taken all of that stuff out, probably could have made the movie half an hour shorter.
Yeah,
made it like more of a movie, and then taken out, 10 minutes of the hunting scene, a couple of the like useless sex scenes, and like there was some stuff that you could have made it a 2-hour movie that, would have been enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if I struggle with this movie, because can there be an hour and a half cut of this movie? Yeah, 100%. Like, you can get this down to about 2 hours, and it probably is successful in its base idea. I think it needs to be this long to draw out how grand they're trying to be with it. It's almost like he was trying to make a movie for 30 some years later, so people can look back at it and say, wow, this was pretty epic. So
I mean, if you're making a historical epic, it needs to be over 2.5 hours long. Otherwise, it's just a Western. And he wanted to make a historical epic, so 2.5 hours long or longer.
Yeah.
You can cut time out of this movie, but then it's not the movie that it says it is.
True. All right, so here's the notes that I took on this movie. A couple of things of trivia that I found out. So, because of the film's enormous success and sympathetic treatment of the Native Americans, the Sioux Nation adopted Kevin Costner as an honorary member, which I honestly do not believe, but I read it, so it's got to be true. All right, so
do you get your trivia from IMDb?
I got that
Okay.
piece of trivia from IMDb. Sure.
I also saw that on TV Tropes, so I think it's probably correct.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I saw it on Wikipedia, so
Three
cool.
sources, baby. We got
There
it.
we go. We did it. Lock it down. Also, Two Socks was performed by two different wolves originally owned by Michael Caine. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. The two wolves were called Buck and Teddy. One of the wolves did not have actual socks, so they had to paint those on every time.
So I do it for work, so yeah.
Yeah. And during the scene where the buffalo is charging, it smiles a lot. The buffalo, if you don't know behind the scenes, is actually charging at a pile of its favorite treats, which are Oreo cookies.
Aww.
Yeah, I know, that's great. All
right.
Yeah. Look, I'm trying to make this thing fun whatsoever. Okay, so Dance with Wolves. All right, so it opens on what I think is a surgery. I don't really know what's happening because it's just blood and
it's what passed for surgery.
This was my second question. It came right away. Back in the Civil War, people got their legs amputated all the time. Like, it was something that happened, or at least in school, they taught us that it happened all the time. So all I saw was Kevin Costner put his boot back on. And then the next time I saw him, he seemed to be fine. Did I miss something in there where they showed how he got better? Because they were about to take his leg off.
Yeah, they were going to cut his leg off, but he decided to chew on that magic stick. And once that honestly government official boot got back on there, Uncle Sam fixed everything, buddy. So yeah, I mean, that boot got it.
Amputation back in like that era, it was effectively just like, you got a wound and we don't know how to clean it, so we're taking it so it doesn't rot off, and then they just burned the end so that it cauterizes.
I also like that the two starters were like, I don't really want to deal with this now. So
let's go get some coffee. We'll come back. He'll be fine.
F this lieutenant. So anyway, so Kevin Costner bites on some sticks, and then so he goes into war, and for some reason, I guess because his foot hurts, he decides to attempt suicide, or one of the most brilliant distractions known to man, which is the attempted suicide. But because of this, his cavalry little people, they win that little battle, and we meet his new boss, who's great. And this guy plays like a real skis ball and a lot of things, and I like this little scene. But pretty much, he's trying to get himself, I think, demoted so that he can just go live in the field somewhere. He wants to see the frontier, and that's it. And this is pretty much when we get the first bit of just huge cinematic scope. And these first couple shots of him, heading into the frontier, it's just gorgeous. It really is. So our buddy Bilfer says, this personally to me is Costner's best film he's ever made. Directing or starred in? Because I'm going to say being in, I think Desperado might be a little better. I also think The Bodyguard is actually a better movie. But directing, I will say this is easily...
The Bodyguard's definitely a better movie than that.
Yeah, but directing, this is easily his best movie. So I agree with you on that one. So we have a cute little camping night that night. Then we get more shots of just vast land. And then Kevin Costner finds a home, which is just a rundown shack that has some chains in it. And he's like, yeah, this feels right. I'm going to live here. So he tells his friend to dip. and then that night he thinks to himself while opening a book and holding a pen, which I guess is him writing in a journal. So in the morning, Lieutenant Kevin almost shoots a horse, but decides to clean until he finds a real mess and a cave, I think. And then he gets scared by a dead deer, but he really wants some well-done meat. So he lights it on fire with, I think, gasoline. Why he has any of that, I have no idea.
This character is the weirdest, out of place character in a movie I think I've ever seen. In this epic historical thing, we have this weird slapstick comedy character that could have been played by Chris Farley as easily as anybody else. This guy's just burping and farting, and I'm sitting here thinking
he's just some dude in the Civil War. He's not particularly noble. He's just you know what? this is awful. I'm going to either kill myself or go as far west as I can so I don't have to deal with anybody. And he does.
Yeah,
and then he burps and farts to his heart's delight, and then he has to live in a society again.
Dude, he is like Shrek, and he lives on the plains. All he does is like hit his head. Like, you chose this house, pal. Like, why are you hitting your head on everything? I don't understand what's happening. But yeah, I agree. It is a weird like slapsticky because he's like, I want to get away from people, and then like a couple of days later, he's like, I'm pretty pissed off. No one's looking for me. Like
this.
Well,
there's a weird half hour in this movie where it feels like they tried to make it a comedy for no reason. Like, even there's a part where he's standing and he's got the American flag and it just like blows and smacks him in the face. And it's like, what are we doing in this movie? I thought we were watching a historical epic drama.
And then well, you forgot to say he also cusses at the flag for hitting him in the face right before he finds the love of his life. But
so
we're gonna
weird.
Well,
we're gonna get there.
No, I'm not going to do it. Your interpretation of how he got out here is way funnier than the actual movie, way more interesting than the actual movie. So I'm just going to let it go. That's fine.
All right, good. Okay, so obviously everybody wants some well-done deer meat, and that's when the Native Americans find out, and they're like, obviously a white guy burns all of his meat terribly, so they go and they try to find it. And Costner's buddy, that guy that he told him to leave, and then I think gave him a box of cans of peaches, that guy for some reason is just like sitting there, and then some Native Americans just kill him, and they give him a bunch of arrows because they're very nice, and then they give him a pretty solid haircut, and he screams a lot about his donkeys, and then they leave, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. But meanwhile, Kevin tries to Kevin tries to shoot a wolf. But he decides to talk to himself again. I guess he's pretty much bragging about how cool he is. And he's been here for 30 days, and he's got to name the wolf Two Socks, even though it has 4 socks on. But humans wear 2 socks,
well,
so he
has two pairs of socks. And you don't say I'm going to put on 2 socks. You say I'm going to put on my socks. So 2 socks, you have 2 pairs.
Yeah, there's 1 sock and 2 socks. 2 socks do not make 4 socks, Dylan. That's 2 pairs. We can call the wolf dog 2 pairs if that's okay.
2 pairs ain't bad.
I like better.
Okay, cool. So then the general from Atlantic Rim stops by to see if Kevin was naked. Guess what? He was naked. And the cop from Die Hard 3 leaves without a horse. Then the Peeping Tom Native American and his friends tell some stories around a fire, and the kids decide to go see if Kevin Costner's naked, but he wasn't. But he did hit his head, and he lost a horse. Now, one of these GTA punks named Otter, he fell off his horse, and he lost Kevin Costner's horse, which is crazy. This is weird, like, horse fiasco going on. But Kevin Costner wakes up with blood on his head, and he's looking for another dead deer in the water, but he decides to shave instead. Instead of shaving, though, other Native Americans really want his horse, I guess, mostly because it's the only horse that has a tattoo, and I think that's pretty dope. And honestly, back in that time, tattoos were cool. It was probably a sailor horse, so I can see why everybody wants this horse.
I wish I would have been watching the same movie that you were, because you apparently watched a hilarious and action-packed.
It's a little Western caper.
Movie.
Woo!
Yeah,
man, this
Western
movie was
caper.
hot. I cannot wait to get done this podcast. I'm going to watch it again over the next 4 days.
Capers with canines.
Yeah.
You also blew past what might be the best scene in the movie, where this burping and farting guy gets absolutely like murdered so slowly with 19 arrows to his
Boromired.
To his face, chest, legs, like stomach, and he's just bleeding and coughing.
Oh, sorry. I think maybe he likes this movie a little too much, and I apologize. I actually like this movie too, but it does not need to be this long. But I didn't mind it either. Like, I feel bad because I was enjoying watching it. It looks beautiful. Yeah. And I was definitely and I did watch it over 3 days. So I wasn't sitting there watching it for 3 hours, which I think you have to do. Yeah. But yeah, it's long and it's boring. And Kevin Costner is fucking horrible. He's a bad actor. He's very funny in this.
He's fine in The Parent Trap.
So I watched this movie last week, And then I watched it again today. So today is when I got like the kind of the funny notes, because I'm like, dude, I can't sit through this again. But I didn't take notes when I watched it before. I just wanted to kind of soak it in. Let's see. So Wind in his hair comes to say hi, while Lieutenant Costner shows off his chest hair and his gun, but doesn't shoot the guy, which is a weird scene because he's like, and then Costner's like holding the gun to his face and then whatever. So the next day, he puts on his like best uniform from The Postman, if you've seen that movie, and he goes and he's like, I'm gonna go make some friends. So he finds the president's wife from Independence Day, and her name is Stands with a Fist, and she's bleeding, and they almost fight, but they fall in love instead. Dylan, why is she bleeding?
Her husband died, and she's sad.
That's her husband's blood?
No, she was she was taking it very hard.
She's not hurt.
Is she not?
She's definitely hurt because when they travel for days, and for some reason Kevin Costner knows exactly where this nomadic tribe's living, he walks up to them and he just says, "She's hurt."
Yeah, she's hurt.
She's hurt.
Mm-hmm. She's mourning.
She's hurt. I have never seen anyone deliver lines with less emotion than Kevin Costner walking into 100+ Native Americans holding a bloody Native American woman. And he's like, she's hurt.
Yeah.
And they're like, no comprende. And he's like, she's hurt. And they're like, you know what I'm saying?
Saying it over and over.
And he's like, she's hurt. And the guy's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, no.
This is definitely a white person trying to communicate with somebody that doesn't understand, English.
Yeah.
And they're just like, if I say it enough times, they'll understand me. Maybe if I yell.
Yeah, I was glad that he didn't say it louder or slower. Like that makes any sense.
She's hurt.
She's hurt.
Yeah. Okay, guys, do you know? Okay. This is going to be difficult anyway.
I also don't know why she was hurt. I actually thought she was dead. I also thought her name was Stands with a Fish until the last 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Because of the way he was
with the fish. So that when the guy finds when her buddy finds out that she's hurt, what he does is he grabs her by her hair and drags her away. And I'm like,
brutal.
Yeah, I'm like, Costner, dude, get out of here. You don't belong here. And then honestly, the saddest horse ride I've ever seen ever was Kevin Costner leaving. And it was like, yeah, that's right. You get out of here. And then he has to like walk, he's go past those kids, those Native American stoop kids. And he's like, I'm sad because my friend was hurt and no one listens to me. But anyway, so that night, they obviously the Native Americans, they don't want to talk to Kevin Costner because he might have hurt that woman. But what they do is they decide to talk about him behind his back at the campfire that night. And they decide that what they want to do is probably learn some English and some Christianity. But they go to Kevin Costner the next day and they learn about buffaloes. No big deal. Tatanka. I thought it was a cool scene. The next day, Kevin Costner decides to get them addicted to narcotics such as coffee and sugar, obviously, because what else is the white man going to do but push weird, bad stuff on other people? And you know what? Guess what? They love sugar. They have sugar the way that I have sugar, by the fistfuls, which I love. All right, so then almost Deborah Winger, she leaves the camp again for some reason. And Kevin Costner starts talking to Dog, and his new friend swings by, and they give him a hand-me-down blanket. What'd you guys think of this?
Is it hand-me-down because it used to belong to a buffalo?
It's not his. He didn't buy it.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like all of the scenes of him, like, establishing a relationship with us. I think that was a good use of time in the movie. Yeah. Because you're doing I'm gonna come out on the side of the historical epic here and say, if you're doing this genre, take your time to present the characters as characters. And I thought all the stuff of them being, speaking to each other was great. And then it gets to the violence, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Gladiator did it better.
Somehow the character development was definitely the best part. Like, you're right. They had to take their time and because if it would have been like, oh, we hate this guy, we're gonna go to him, give him a blanket, and now we're cool. That would have been terrible. So the slow build up to them, forming a relationship was definitely worked best for me. But
Yeah.
I blamed Dylan earlier, but he said it was Zach's fault. Somebody in the chat got this mixed up with Last of the Mohicans. All I could think of throughout this entire movie was, man, this movie would be so much better if this was Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like watching Daniel Day-Lewis like flop with a flag in his face, I think would be very, very funny.
Well, in real life,
would not have done that part.
Yeah, he hits himself in the flag to get that role right.
That's true.
6 or 7 times a day. Yeah,
that's true. And then, Kevin Costner, what he does with this blanket, I think is the cutest thing, because he goes and he puts it up on a hill and he sits on his stomach and he writes in his journal and he starts drawing stuff. And he's like, I'm so glad my friends love me. I'm glad I gave them sugar because now I have my favorite new blanket. Let's see. So, for some reason, he gets an Evite to go check out the village, and they like immediately just start smoking, and they're just like hammering down. And then Rebecca De Mornay, she stops by, and she pretends to like not speak English, kind of, but she really definitely speaks English, which I think is a weird scene. What do you guys think about this? Having her as the interpreter?
Sure. I don't know. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think her position in this village is? Because they kind of treat her with weird, like it's very weird the way they like react to her and treat her. What's going on with her? You think?
Like adopted daughter of someone in a position of power from outside the tribe. Like it's an awkward position, and technically she's a part of she's a part of it. But it's awkward, like, your family's dead. We're kind of a replacement for you. We know that we'll never occupy the same space, but everybody's kind of like half-stepping on their relationship with each other.
Yeah, I don't know.
To talk it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that there was like a couple weird things that happened with her character development. Like later on when there's that weird, almost quiet sex scene goes on, and Kevin Costner sits up and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "We're doing it." And he's like, "All right, I'll go back to sleep then." But then they cut to her, and she's like, and I could not understand what that look was supposed to tell me, because at one point I was thinking like, oh, did she used to bang that dude who's not the chief, and that's why he drags her around speaking English all the time? Justin Wallace, Justin Wallace said she needs to shoot a Tatanka to gain the elders' respect. Oh, okay, I guess that's what it was. She just hasn't killed a Tatanka yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where are we? So after talking to his diary again, he has this weird kind of scene where he finds some mist, and there's just a lot of Tatankas running in the mist. And I thought that was kind of cool, because usually, obviously, you see gorillas in the mist, and I don't know if you've ever seen buffalo that way.
Why can't you be this funny on No Time to Binge, Zach?
What? Because Matt is trying too hard, and I don't know my place there. I'm like, he's obviously the funny guy. He's doing this lay down drinking coffee bullshit. Like I don't need that. I don't know what to do there. That's not my spot. Anyway,
it's not too late, Justin. You can still make it back and
get in here.
Show.
So
otherwise, I mean, we're probably going to disrespect this movie.
Yeah, we skipped a 45-minute chunk of this movie from
what chunk?
I don't know.
Nothing
happened. There was just a big from the last part that you talked about to that sex scene. There was a lot in between. No.
I was only talking about that as like a linkage. I'm not there like in the story yet.
You're not there in the movie yet. All right.
I was just asking because I don't understand what her position is in this tribe. I know that she was, I guess, found or taken, and they treat her weird, and I don't know what I just don't know what it is. So Justin, if you could tell us what Rebecca De Mornay's spot in this whatever her name is in this movie is, that'd be great.
Well, it seems like they don't like her because she's white, but also the chief of the tribe and his wife were the ones that brought her in. So they have to treat her with some sort of respect. So it's like they don't want to, but they have to.
Do you think
that was all I could get out of it?
Do you think making people watch you have sex is a sign of respect?
Maybe it's a dominance display for sure.
Yeah. I was
That's fair.
Say, that was exactly what I was thinking.
No, I love it. So after Costner sees
watching Costner, he was like totally creepy during that sex scene. He's just like up on one arm, like just staring.
He was hoping they'd be like, "All right, get over here."
He's like, "That's actually my blanket. If I could have that back, that'd be."
Are you guys using my blanket? Come on.
Ew. That's mine. Okay,
it's
so
our blanket. We're just letting you use it.
So after Costner sees a lot of buffalo in the mist, he's got to go break up the quinceanera, and he's got to rat these buffalo out because they got to die. So they travel for days, really, only to find some sunburnt dead buffaloes. And this is what letting us know that there's white men around here. And what they said was that they're killing the buffalo for their tongues and their hides. Dylan, you are the historian of the group. What do you do with a buffalo tongue?
Eat it. It was a delicacy. Yep, sure was.
But there's meat on the buffalo that they don't take the meat. There's other delicacies like the liver, which we're going to see later on. But I'm curious why the tongue.
The buffalo slaughters of the 1800s. Nah, the buffalo slaughters of the 1800s was not motivated by any sort of reasonable consumer guidelines. It was shoot the big things and leave them.
Yeah.
If you can find pictures of people standing next to pyramids 30 feet tall of buffalo skulls, and they just would pop them as they walked past and leave them. Yeah.
Although not making sense, I can understand that. I just don't know if you're going to take the time to skin a buffalo and then cut its tongue out. I feel like the tongue is probably not the fastest piece of meat you can get.
Yeah,
You ever eat? Yeah. No, you can't eat raw tongue. You gotta boil that thing.
Yeah, you gotta cut it.
You gotta cut the gland. I just feel that the tongue is not as. Not back then you can't. Not back then you can't. You gotta pour gasoline on it and burn it like it's a dead deer.
You gotta sous vide that tongue. Get your little your little immersion rotator, and you just put it in a Ziploc bag and you let it sit for 3 hours at 160 degrees. It's great.
Okay.
Tongue is so tough though. I don't even think that would tenderize it enough.
Slow cooker. I don't know. They had slow cookers back in the Middle Ages. The Western Ages.
The middle.
It's the middle of the country.
Middle Ages of America.
Yeah.
Which is all that matters.
Yeah, that's America. So they're upset about these dead buffalo, which doesn't really matter because the next day there's a lot more buffalo that they get to kill. And
that's the attitude everybody had in the West. Good job.
That's the American way. Don't worry about them. We'll eat them later. Maybe we'll just kill some more. So they get inside this buffalo group and they're like, let's go play with these guys. And they shoot a few and they catcall others. And then Kevin shoots one and his friends find some cherry jello inside of it and they make him eat a little bit of it.
Say Game of Thrones ripoff. Come on. Season 1 of Game of Thrones was in 2010.
Yeah.
Avatar was 2010. Yeah. Come on, Costner.
Come on, Costner. Write some new stuff 20 years earlier. Yeah. So Michael Colby, if you had to eat a piece of a raw skinned buffalo, what are you going to grab?
Raw? I mean, I've seen...
What are you going to sous vide it like Dylan?
Well, I mean,
no. You don't have an immersion blender there.
Probably, this is gross, but probably fat. I feel like the raw fat would be the easiest to sort of get through.
Huh?
Because I know organ meat is tough.
Yeah.
And buffalo meat is also very tough. So if I had to eat a raw piece of a buffalo, it would probably be some sort of soft fat that I could just and get it down.
Okay. Grabbing that buffalo fat. Honestly, did not expect you to say that.
I also didn't, because I wasn't expecting that question. It was just off the top of my head.
So the night that they kill a bunch of buffalo, they're pretty stoked, and Kevin decides to trade his jacket for a pretty dope necklace and some pretty solid friendship. Now, Dylan, knowing that you're the kind of person that hunts your own food, and then you get crazy hyped up on raw meat, have you ever started trading your goods for jewelry?
No, I take what I need. Why would I trade? I keep I keep what I get, and I take what I need. Yeah.
No, that's very fair. That's fine.
I did see a comment. I saw that there was a 4-hour cut of this.
Yeah.
Can you write to us and let us know what that extra hour was? Because I can't imagine that they put more stuff in this movie.
Yeah, so keep in mind the original cut of this movie was over 5 hours long, and they trimmed it down to 3 hours for the studios. Now there is a 4-hour, I forget what it's called. It's called like Legacy of the Wolves, something like that. There's a 4-hour cut, which Kevin Costner said that he has nothing to do with. It's not his cut. It's just what the studio did. You get 36 minutes.
Yeah, it's the version. It's the version where the original cut of this had him be a werewolf, and then they're like, no, we can't do that.
Christ.
You know, a little bit of professionalism would be fine if that's okay with.
Hey, perfect. I only have a little bit of professionalism.
Okay, perfect.
And I used it all in the
didn't
first
take
half
those
hour.
72 buffalo corpses that were laying around and
Wrong show.
Frankenstein them into one giant.
Now, Kevin Costner got a budget of like $120 million to make this movie. And I think it went over like 40-some million. And he had to pay that out of pocket because he just was so into some of these scenes and making sure that all of these horses were filmed. But
in 1990, that's a big budget movie.
It's a lot of money.
Moly.
So after he gets his new necklace, when he gets to be alone, though, he decides to make a fire and kind of a solo mosh pit around it. Michael Colby, what did you think about this scene where obviously a ripoff of Castaway, where he makes fire and he has to build a fire, but he tries to stab the fire with a stick and it just doesn't work. That's not how you kill fire.
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like watching Costner dance around like that, I had like secondhand embarrassment. Like, you put this on film, you put this in your big budget blockbuster movie, and you just look stupid. You look like a fucking idiot.
I liked it. I don't care.
Yeah. I looked at that scene, I was like, that would be Dylan.
Come on, you've never danced around a fire?
Nope, not once. But but knowing you would probably have some kind of like leather pants on with only suspenders, and you would just be getting into that fire. But I do like his method dancing. I think that was kind of cool looking. So young Reba McEntire comes into Sue-splain that he can't fight like a warrior because he's white, but he needs to be the godfather of the guy's kids. So there is that. Also,
By the way,
I did
like
our
kids.
Yeah, it's like, hey, listen, you can't do anything for us, but also if I die, you need my wife.
No wonder Justin likes this movie so much. It's a fantasy film for him where you can just be like, here, take him.
Yeah,
I'm going to be dead and I'm not going to have kids anymore.
It's a guy trying to find the best way to commit suicide, but then keeps getting a promotion somehow. What a cool movie. All right, so so he's obviously now the godfather of kids. For some reason, he decides to shave his mustache, and then he goes back home, and then he reads the book that he wrote, and he's very happy about it. And that's when his wolf dog appears. And Casey and not Julianne Moore, they go to find each other, and they kiss a little bit, and then they sex a little bit, and things are going pretty well for them. They're sexing and kissing a lot, almost as much as the chief guy.
How many names do you have for this lady?
I wrote 10 and I forgot who 2 of them were in case you guys like called me out. I was like, I should erase that name. I don't know who that person is. So Kevin, he knows some stuff and they go to hunt down the Pawnee and they fight for a while, but then they get to the water and that's when they win the fight because everyone has guns except for Kevin Costner and they all decide to shoot in a circle and only one guy gets shot.
Well, Kevin Costner throws his pistol into the river when it's out of ammo, so no wonder he doesn't have any guns left.
Yeah, so he obviously earlier he tried to stab fire, and now he's trying to pistol whip a river. This guy has no idea how to be a good soldier. But yeah, I do like that. Like it's like, hey, here's a fight, and there's a bunch of horses, and there's shit going on. But we got to get to the water because that's where like all fights end. Because like there's like 4 different fights that happen somewhere and then finish up in some splashing horse water.
Yeah,
it's and I get cool.
Yeah, it's a good dramatic like flair.
Yeah, and I think they won that battle. So because they won that battle, though, they find the whitest guy. Oh, they find the whitest gown that they can muster up, and they have to marry these 2 kids because they're sexing, and that's what you do back in the olden days. And eventually they remember that the white man sucks, and there's a pretty long story about how bad the white man is, which kind of gets to the point where it's like, hey, also I have this conquistador helmet, and every time I think, man, the white man sucks, I just think of this one.
It's a total rip out of the costuming from The Witch.
Yeah, second week in a row that I saw a conquistador helmet.
Yeah.
I did note that.
When I watched it again today, I was like, "Oh, Colby's gonna throw a hissy fit about this conquistador hat."
No, I love it. I don't know what you thought about. I don't know why you would think I would have a hissy fit. I wanted more conquistadors in The Witch, and I wanted.
So
more
it's not cool that the village guards in The Witch wear them, but it's cool for some random member of the Sioux tribe to have it.
No, it was cool for those guys to wear it. I wanted more of them.
Yeah, classic white behavior is we need more conquistadors.
That's true.
These churches are not full enough. Bring in more conquistadors over here, guys. There's too many brown people walking around not saying English words. Okay, so
that clip.
Don't. That was a direct quote from Justin Wallace. He texted me that. He's like, make sure this gets in there, and I'm like, Dylan's not gonna like this, but I have to because whatever. Because Justin Wallace is our Matt Deterior, and he is the funny one. Now Kevin remembers that his book is in his hut, and if people find his book, then they're going to know some stuff. And he goes to get his book, but instead he gets his horse shot. And I'll say, there's a lot of death in this movie. Not a lot that I cared about whatsoever. But there was something about this horse dying that really just caught me.
I was bummed. What's his name? Chrysler?
Probably.
It's something like that.
Yeah,
I was bummed when
Chrysler
died.
Chrysler. Yeah.
Starts with C.
Yeah. So
it was just Christ.
Yeah,
he named his horse Christ.
Right after the beginning scene.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about Chrysler biting the dust?
I was bummed.
Yeah. I was pretty upset.
However, he did push that horse into serving him in his suicide mission. The only reason he has the horse is because he was willing to die with the horse.
Yeah,
and he did also kind of like shield himself with the horse when he was getting shot at, so it didn't seem like he cared all that much about it.
I was curious what his plan was. He's like, well, these guys have guns, and you're just like, you got a little bit of speed on your back. That's just about it. That's not going to work. Kevin, so a lot more white people come, and they give him some shit, and he tries to talk back to them, and they jump him. They really just beat the shit out of him. And then they chain him up because he obviously broke some law. Who knows what it is, but they're cops now. So, buddy, you got to go to prison. But before they take him to prison or wherever they're going with him, they decide to kill his dog, which is also just... The horse was sad. This just throws in your face like, all right, man, cops suck. I'm assuming these are cops, right?
The cops break into his house and shoot his dog. Yeah.
And now Kevin's on a war path.
We're not allowed to be political in the Real Boys.
Well, I thought you were talking about John Wick.
Oh, they're cops in John Wick?
Well, I thought you were talking about killing his dog.
Yeah. Are they all cops in John Wick? I thought they were assassins.
Listen, buddy, I know. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you now calling police assassins, Dylan? We're not supposed to get political on this. Let's hop back to the movie. Okay,
let's get back to the movie.
Okay, these cops are shooting this dog, right? And then they run up a hill, and then one good cop is like, "Hey, get back to work, guys. Get back to work. No milking the clock on Uncle Sam's dollar.
That
Which
cop did let the other cops do what they were going to do, though, so he wasn't that good.
Yeah, well, at the end, he really, they honestly, Conscious comes at random times, and he caught it after the dog died, but before the Native Americans could hop over the hill and do some damage. Now, the whites, they get jumped in the water, obviously, because if there's water, somebody's got to die in it. And KC, he gets some revenge on the dog killers. And one of the crapheads, he punches a kid because he obviously can't shoot this kid, which he wants to. So he punches it in the face. And I honestly, when I saw that scene and he put the gun that kid's, I'm like, come on, dude. And then there's no bullet. I'm like, come on, dude. Then he punches it. I'm like, I need this guy to die so horrifically. And then you see that dude like swinging that round ball. And I'm like, yeah, what's going to happen? But then he gets an axe in his back. And I'm like, who the fuck had that axe? Where'd the axe come from?
It was the kid.
Yeah.
It was the kid.
Oh, the kid who punched him.
Not so helpless, are they?
Yeah,
That's way better.
Yeah.
That's way better than. All right, I'm cool with that. I was like, wow, random axe.
Now you did gloss over the most boring part of the movie, which was somehow when he was tied up because that happened before this. He was like chained up to in a shed, and then these two other comic relief characters were there, and they're shitting out in the field and using his book as toilet paper.
Yeah,
like what the fuck? Why do we keep having these comic relief characters come into this movie? I mean, they both absolutely got murdered in that creek fight, which was fun,
for good reason.
But
yeah, honestly,
using his book as toilet paper.
And if anyone on the Real Boys has the clout to say this, it'd be Justin. Do not trust any of the little ones. He has a baker's dozen of little ones running around his shins at all times, and honestly, he doesn't trust any of them.
They haven't realized that they're powerful in a bunch, and they haven't overthrown him yet. He's a matter of time.
Okay, so after the axe in the back, I think roughly 45 minutes passes, and then it's winter. And I'm not really sure what happens here. I think that I really dozed off or something. I missed something here because it was a long time.
I also missed something before we go past the axe in the back. He absolutely did get hit in the back with the axe, but then when he falls on the ground, it's in his chest.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It went all the way through him.
I guess, but did the handle also go all the way through him?
It's reversible. I don't know. It's hard to believe.
All of the kids
these
have
kids
hatchets.
are strong.
Justin, that was your fault. If all of
Hatchet Gang, I love that movie.
They can't get hatchets without parental supervision.
Also, Justin, stop buying hatchets at Costco. That's really not doing your clan a service here.
Hey man, packs of 144 for like $100. That's pretty good.
That's true.
It's a lot of hatchets.
Yeah. So Kevin Costner's like, hey, wait, where's my wife? And they're like, oh, yeah, she's in winter time. So they have to go to winter and they find his wife. And then they start smoking, obviously. And, they really compliment Kevin on being one of the good white ones. They're like, I met a lot of them. You're one of the good ones, pal.
You're the most savior-ish of the white saviors I've ever seen.
Is he, though? Because he doesn't save them ever. He gets rescued all the time from them. He doesn't do anything to save them. He's never given a position of power. He gives them the guns, and that's about it.
He gets a peace pipe. He gets their their computer, their translator. He gets to have that. He gets their hot white leather dress. That thing's dope. Who knows how they made that thing? So he makes out. He also gets the peace pipe that he made somebody earlier. He's like, oh, by the way, I made that. Can I have that back? Thank you very much. Here's your crappy peace pipe.
He take backsies, but I don't think that makes him a white savior necessarily. It's not like,
No.
Another one.
Michael wasn't saying in our eyes, in Kevin Costner's eyes, he's the white savior. Because honestly, at the end of it, dude, they're speaking pretty good English, and they would not have that without Kevin Costner.
Yeah, so, he totally turned this tribe into a bunch of white people.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that saving them, Michael?
In Kevin Costner's eyes, absolutely.
Okay.
exactly how
it.
God
Okay.
saves people, Dylan. So
You're right.
you put a little bit of water on them, you tell them how bad they were, but don't worry, later you're going to go to heaven.
Let's not get religious on the real boy.
We shouldn't be
What?
allowed to
Come
be
on.
the three of us on this show by ourselves. This is so off the rails.
Hey, right. Okay, so
This is the first time in a long time that this show has been entertaining.
Yeah, that's true. So they all sit around and they smoke and they're talking about Kevin's wife and they share some smiles. And honestly, with the idea of the white man looming, the wolf still howls at nighttime. And with that, we learned some words that this movie was almost historically accurate, and that Dylan most likely will like this thing.
History ensues.
History ensues. Honestly, I think there's nothing but good things coming for this tribe. So I would like to see the sequel. Dylan, Dance with Wolves Part 2, Back in the Saddle. What's it about?
He teams up with Maximus, like a time-traveled Maximus from Gladiator, and we kick off the historical epic expanded universe, or the HEU. And it's Maximus from Gladiator. What's his name? Master and Commander? That's his name. Master and Commander.
Yeah.
And they go around on his ship and they collect historical figures and fight off a bad guy with a sky beam and a faceless army.
Wait, when you say Master and Commander, you mean Kal-El's dad with the cool hair that's on a boat, right?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Yeah, that cool singer, the Australian singer with the gut.
Yeah, or the guy who tortured people in Desert Storm.
No,
that's a really deep cut movie. Nobody remembers that. It was with
what movie is that?
Leonardo DiCaprio, Body of Lies.
What are you talking about?
Leonardo DiCaprio gets his fingers broken with a hammer. I don't remember.
Are you saying Leonardo DiCaprio is Master and Commander here?
No. It was Leonardo DiCaprio and Russell Crowe. Body of Lies, the hit film from 2008.
No, that is
made up movie that Dylan just made up. And
let me tell you something. Body of Lies, the 1991 sex thriller with one of the Baldwins and most likely Sharon Stone. I know that
most of a Baldwin.
Wasn't that Body of Evidence with Madonna?
Nope, that's the one.
No, I think you're thinking of Shanghai Surprise.
Nope, you're thinking of Shanghai Noon, the second one. Anyway, so
the Jackie Chan Owen Wilson vehicle.
Yep. Yeah, man. And honestly, they got snubbed, and I'm pretty upset about that. So, Michael Colby, Dancing with Wolves Part 2. What is it about? What happens?
I think because the white men take over America, there's a horrible climate change thing. The ice caps melt. The world is overtaken with water. Everybody has to live on ships, and Dances with Wolves grows gills so that he can swim in the water. And they fight people who are trading cigarettes. Let me see what else I can remember from Waterworld. They drink their own piss.
Jack Black. I'm going to say that Kevin Costner's role now is recast by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And what he does is instead of a horse, he rides a dolphin to all of the Micronesian islands. And he spreads his Samoan religion, whatever that thing is. I don't know what it is, but he's probably pretty oppressive about it. Anyway, I'm gonna say, okay, so out of reels, I kind of like this movie, and it's weird because I like it. I like it enough to make fun of it, and I think that's cool. Most movies I just hate, and I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, revisit or whatever. But I'm gonna say, because I cannot just watch this movie, and honestly, it's hard to talk about this movie. And you're like, "What's this movie about?" It's like, I don't know, some dropout guy who doesn't want to do some shit stumbles into a marriage and some smoke.
And he smokes a lot.
Yeah, that's it.
Dude, where's my horse?
Yeah, he's a bad pet owner. He's a bad horse owner. He's a bad friend, really. And he doesn't know how to walk out of a doorway without smacking his face. But I'm gonna say 7 out of 10 reels.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Michael Colby, give me some reels.
I can sum this movie up in a couple of words. Maybe they're not that different after all.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say Dances with Wolves. and you'd have had me.
I'm sort of with you. Like, this movie is very fun to make fun of.
Yeah.
But it wasn't nearly as, it's way too long. It's way too, like, all the scenes last 2 minutes longer than they need to. But it was fun to look at. It wasn't there, nothing offensive happened for 1990. To treat Native Americans with as much respect as this movie does was kind of amazing. So I'm going to give it a 6 because there's no way that I'm ever going to watch this again, because I did start watching it last Wednesday and I just ended it up about 2 hours ago. It's so much longer than it needs to be, but it's not bad. And it is fun to talk about after the fact.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dylan, what you got?
I'm giving this a 7 because I'm a sucker for a historical epic.
Yeah.
I liked it. I had a fair time. I had it on kind of in the background, and every time I looked up, I'm like, that's really pretty.
Yeah.
And then I go back to doing what I was doing, and I'm like, all right. All right. Cool. All right. And, it lasted me 3 hours. It's nice background noise.
If Justin Wallace is... Okay, there we go.
Oh, yeah, he has a rating.
Nice. But the scene with Kevin Costner's ass, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a good butt. All right, so let's see. We got 2 7s, we got a 6, and we got a 9, which gives us what, 29 out of
28.
Well, no, that's not really how math works, but we can say 28. That's fine. So we'll say 28 out of
40.
I'm sorry?
28 out of 40.
Mm-hmm.
No, 2 7s is 14, and a 6 is 20, and a 9 is 29. I don't.
Oh, I thought you gave it a 6.
No. Don't blame your errors on me. We can rewind. This is on tape. We'll rewind this. Okay. Justin's stuck.
It's 29. It's 29 reels out of 40.
Yeah, 29 out of 40, which gives us roughly what, like a 6.9 or something. It's almost 7 reels. 7 and change, whatever. I don't do math very well. Anyway, so
Kevin Costner's ass is not that nice. It's flat
fine.
White guy ass.
Yeah, honestly, I was about to say that. If you just took a picture of that butt and said who's that, you would name 8 other white dudes 1st, and you're like, I don't know, Kevin Costner, I don't care. All right, so what we're going to do, we were going to do John Dies at the End last Friday, but we actually just all couldn't show up for this thing. So we thought about doing it this Friday, but I'm actually, what the heck are people thinking? Way too many bashing. This is a revolution. No, this is... we
gave it straight more positive than we normally do. We don't normally give things above a 7.
I wouldn't call what we said about this movie bashing. I mean, we were having fun with it, but nobody hated this movie. This is not a quiet place.
When you have a 20-minute scene where Kevin Costner's looking at a book, you have to make a joke out of it because we got to talk about it. And it's a good movie, but it's not fun to talk about. It's like, all right, now Kevin Costner for the next 20 minutes, he rides a horse into nowhere, and then he looks at a flag that he brought for no effing. Why do you bring the flag to whatever? It doesn't matter. For a
3-hour movie, this would have been a 20-minute episode if we would have just straight talked about the movie.
If you want to
being serious about movies is boring. I've been told that, and I'm the one who perpetuates it. So this is the best way we can do this review.
Yeah. If you want to see a movie that we hate, then watch some of our other stuff or listen to some of our Quiet Place. You want to see? We really trashed a whole bunch of movies.
Jesus Christ, Justin.
Justin, I know you, dude. He's so bored. He's just so bored. He's like, I want to hang out with my friends and talk about Kevin Costner's butt for an hour. No, I can't. All right, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a recap show. So this Friday, whoever's here, we're going to recap and go over all the movies that we've already reviewed, kind of talk about them again, hit us up with some additional reviews like, hey, I probably scored us too low or way too high, which is most likely going to be what's happening.
We can talk about movies on our list that we regret.
Yes. So
I don't have any.
Yeah.
I definitely have.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows? So if you're going to be here this Friday, what we're going to do is we're just going to have like a mid-season break show where we're going to recap everything that we did, kind of talk about what we're going to do in the future, and then what we're going to do once this project is over. Because
maybe a special musical guest, Ned Beatty.
Ned Beatty's going to be here.
I don't know.
Dick
If
Tracy
you might get
himself.
Ned Beatty,
He might
I
be.
would love to get his review of what we do on this show.
There's a
Ned
chance.
Beatty. I was thinking Warren Beatty.
Is Ned Beatty still alive?
I don't know. We'll find him.
Yeah. Anyway,
We'll find an
so
impersonator. I don't know.
Friday, we're going to recap all the films that we have reviewed already, some things we're going to do in the future, and then what kind of season 2 of Real Boys is going to look like now that this project is going to be over in December. And then on Monday, we're going to be doing, let's see, Phil Better's number 3 movie. You guys remember Phil Better?
Yeah,
He's the one.
podcast mogul.
Yeah, he's a podcast mogul.
He has his own movie podcast where he talks about movies.
Yeah. You can find him on all of his podcasts, such as Cinephiliac. He also has Target Your Own News. He also has The Canadian Lad. He has
Stuff I found on the street.
That's
It's a good one, actually.
That's a pretty good one. He also has
Stuff
that
I Found on the Street is by far his best one.
That's true. That opening theme song, I'm really jealous. I think
you'd be surprised at what interesting stuff you can find on the street in Canada.
Considering they're all dirt roads,
yeah. Also, the one that I've been a big fan of, Poontine Time, which is really popping off there. It's a little cheesy, but it's doing okay. Anyway, check. Sorry, whatever, dude, whatever. F yourself.
No, great, it's great.
I've been sleeping for like a month. Leave me alone. Okay, so yeah, go check out Phil Better and all the weird stuff that he's got going on. Please listen to Carpool Shenanigans, Mr. Justin Wallace, with this actually a pretty good selection. He has very taste in a lot of things, clothes, probably cigarettes, movies, but this was a pretty good one, and I appreciate that. So go check out Carpool Shenanigans. Make sure you check out Oops Caught Me Smoking with our friend DL Smokes, or whatever his current name is. But Oops Caught Me Smoking. You also have Jerry and Blaze over at the Cloud Chronicles. Got some awesome interviews. I might be one of them. I don't know. That was a weird episode. Technical difficulties. Maybe Michael Colby's in there. I have no idea.
I was definitely in there, and Zach's episode was definitely plagued with a lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah,
I actually thought that my podcast catcher stopped working for 10 minutes, but it was just them not being able to say anything, and they just left it in the episode for some reason.
Not my show, and there was a storm at his house and at my house. It was crazy that day. Anyway, who else do we got? We also got Chris Harvey at the Chris and Chris Show. You can check him out at most Targets, saying hi to people as you walk in the Atlanta area. He also hangs out behind Costco, checking out some of his jokes or places. I don't know. You can see me at some nobodies, and then that's it. I'm out of here. Whatever. I'm done talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I do stuff. Look up Vorpal Words. That's my handle on everything. I'm just gonna slump out of this episode. Michael, finish us out.
All right, I am Michael Colby from Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex. You were supposed to leave, Dylan. Also,
okay.
No Time to Binge every Wednesday. All right, bye, Zach.
Am I supposed to leave too? Why am I here?
No Time to Binge every Wednesday at 6. Mostly every Wednesday at 6. And then I have some other shows. We have a music show, and it's called Generation Clash, and we're talking about the Wu-Tang Clan this Thursday. Follow me at my neighbor MICH1 on Twitter. We will be back on Friday to talk about what happened so far with this show and what's coming next, and then we're gonna do The Departed on Monday. We will see you later. Love you. Bye.